Hello YouTubers, this is Ishtiaq with you once again. Welcome to my photography blog. In the first episode of this blog we went through some travel photos and we looked at how we can take travel photos and come home and enhance them to bring out the beauty in those photos. In this episode we're going to take another step forward, and along the same theme as the previous one, what we're going to be doing is addressing spot removal in travel photos. This is very common, and the reason why is that travel intuitively means going outside, exposing yourself to the elements, exposing your lens to the elements. And as a result, when you come back, you see that there was, that nice wind that you had on your back. It also brought some dust, and you see that dust on the lens, you see that dust on the photo, and you're like, what do I do? And especially these things when you blow a photo up, when you want to print the photo and enlarge and place that somewhere in your living room, for example, you look at that piece of dust and wonder, I wish that wasn't there. Well, there are ways of fixing it, and that's what we are going to be trying to do in this episode. I'll take you through some steps that you can use in Adobe Lightroom and also in Adobe Photoshop to take the photos you have and identify the spots and remove the spots. Let's head on to the processing and fix some spots. We are in Lightroom with two photos. These are both travel photos and both taken next to a body of water. And what you will notice is that in both cases there's a lot of dust. You see these small areas, and you see some more here, and the photos are amazing. We're going to process these as well as part of what we're doing here, but we need to fix the spots. So to do that, we are going to be following a number of methods, and one photo I'm going to be using methods in Lightroom, and for the other one I'm going to show a few tricks that you can use from Photoshop as well. Alright, so the first one, the easy one, is you can come here in Lightroom, and what you have here is the spot removal tool. You can have the size of the removal area adjusted. You can adjust the feather, which would indicate how which would help you blend it with the surroundings, and you can set the opacity, which would determine how much of it will be fixed, and you can always directly clone from a different area as well. So the way it works, and when you have something selected, you can't really zoom in, because when you don't have it selected, you can click and it'll zoom in, and when you have it, you can always do that first and come here and reduce. And what we will be doing is just clicking on these areas and selecting. Now you see the problem. The moment I clicked, what Lightroom did is it analyzed the rest of the photo and picked a different area and used that as a source. But the problem that we face here is that the source itself had noise, had some dust, and that got copied. So the option we have here is to click and move the source to some other place so that we have something very clean. And as you do this, there are two things to consider. You can always reduce the size or increase the size. It helps to have the brush size so that it covers just one speck of dust. And also something else you can do is you can just paint like this, and Lightroom will pick some other place with a shape similar, a region similar to that, and from there you can come up with the source area to fix your spots. So let's do this. Let's do a few of these. Now we can keep on going, and let's see what's happening here. This one got some noise, so wherever it copied from is where the noise is coming from. But anyways, so let's close this and zoom out. So we fixed a few. There was a lot, so let's hit backslash so we can kind of see the before and the after. Now it's good, it's all nice and good if you can zoom in and identify each of these, and we can go grid by grid and fix all of these, but it would help to see all of the spots at one time. And to do that, what you do is you come all the way to the bottom and you check on this little thing, the visualize spots, and then if you drag it,
it becomes a bit more sensitive and you see the spots. And let's hold down space so we can use this to zoom in, and there you go. So we see a lot of the spots here that we actually didn't notice when we had the full color version. So let's do that. This we fixed, apparently something there as well. So let's uncheck the visualize spots. So see, we don't, it's not too clear to us, but there are spots there. And again, as I said, it copied from, it used as source an area that had spot itself. So let's keep on working. The thing with spot removal is that it's a very simple task, but it's a very tedious task. So in your photo, you have to go through each of these and just go through the trouble of identifying each of these and fixing each of these. The easiest way around is to clean your equipment regularly, but as we said in the beginning, it happens in during travels that you don't get a chance to carry all the cleaning equipment with you, or you don't have the time, you're tired, and even if you clean it, you may be in a beachfront with a lot of dust and air, and you just can't protect your lens. So stuff happens, but when you come in, just go through the photos, take care to fix all the spots you see. So we can keep on going like that. We can fix all the spots and be done with it. So that's one trick. Something else that helps, and for this I used to go to Photoshop, but with the new Haze Slider you can actually use it here. The trick is that just play with it. You can bring the slider down, or you can bring the slider up, and as you do that, the effect of it is very similar to playing around with a curves adjustment layer. And what happens is, as you move this, a lot of these, for example, you see if we introduce more haze, you don't really see the spots, but as we move to the right, there comes a point where you notice that there are these areas that really don't fit in. So that's what we can do. Alright, so we can do that. Let's not go for that. Let's very quickly finish processing this photo using the usual workflow that I showed before. So it's, you can always increase the warmth, but in this case, let's just go down a little bit. Let's add a little more green instead of magenta. The photo seems to be very well exposed, so we don't really need to touch it right now. Let's bring down the highlights so we get more detail, and let's bring up the shadows so we get more detail here. And as we said, you can increase the white, and what it does is that, and of course hold down the Alt or Option so that you can identify the white point. There we go, we're seeing a few dots. So the point is that when you bring down the highlight, the photo becomes very dull and your white areas aren't really white, so you kind of need to push it. Same with the blacks here. Let's hold down the Alt or Option, let's keep going to the left, and we are kind of getting some clipping here. And the moment you do that, immediately this photo looks a lot better. We haven't really done much other than removing some spots and just doing some basic changes. Clarity, yeah, we can add just a pinch if we want, just a little bit of vibrance if we want. And of course we played around with the sliders, so let's try to increase just a little bit of contrast, not too much. And the sharpness, of course, let's add a bit of sharpness. Let's remove a bit of noise. Again, since the focus for this episode is spot removal, I'm not going through details here. I'm doing a very quick and dirty job and just showing that the whole theme of processing travel photos is that you can fix a lot of these photos using very little effort and come up with something that's that just catches the eye. To bring down just introduce a little vignetting so that your eyes are focused. Since we have the Haze Slider, use it just a little bit. No, I didn't mean to go that far. Yeah, let's just keep it there. So you do that, and well, just right there we have a photo that's a lot better than where we started. So this is where we were, this is where we are right now. Now if we look at the photo here, the horizon is kind of slanted. So what you do is you straighten out the, oh, what happened? Okay, let's undo. Okay, all right, so let's click here and draw a line. Oops, my bad, I didn't select this tool. Okay, so next thing we need to do is fix the horizon, and to fix the angle, there we go. Just draw the line, leave it, and you have a straight horizon. Okay, now if we look at this photo, I'm pressing F to go full screen. Come on, okay, there we go. If we look at this photo, it kind of looks dull. So to fix that, what we do is processing a photo is like composing music and or painting something. The reason why I say this is that you will have to decide where people's eyes are gonna go first. So you will need to have a focal point. That's the precise reason why we introduce a little bit of vignetting, for example, because we don't want people to look around the edges first. We want the most important part or the most attractive parts here. So to do that, let's use the radial filter here. And I don't think I used it in the previous episode, but let's just do it. Okay, so let's draw something. What you see here, and we have the invert mask selected, and what invert mask means is that if we select the overlay, it means that the region inside is being affected, or if you uncheck this, the region outside gets affected. So we don't want that. We want the region inside to be affected, and what we want is just a little bit of a, no, not too much, just a little bit of a boost in terms of exposure. And we want people's eyes to be focused here, and to do that in a very subtle way, what we do is we add that. Let's bring it outside this region so that it's not a narrow blob that you see inside, more like a ray of light, because you have the clouds, and behind the clouds you have the sun. It's as if there's some sunlight coming in here. So you do that. We can maybe increase the temperature just a little bit, and if we want, we can play with other sliders, but let's just leave it there. So what we have now is, where were we? Okay, so this is where we were before the filter and after the filter. So you see there's a bit of a focus. So when you look at this photo, let me maybe move it a little bit this way. So when you suddenly look at this photo with the vignetting and this little bit of light, your eyes are directed towards the middle. So that's where we started, that's where we ended. Instantly a much better photo than what it was. Alright, so let's move on to the next photo. In this case, and by the way, just a note of warning, if you are processing a batch of photos that you took in one place, it's very natural that all of those photos are going to have these dust bunnies in the same location. And when you synchronize it, when you batch process, you might be very tempted to here, so I'm pressing Command Shift C to copy the spot removal as well, and then coming to the next photo and Command Shift V and pasting it here. Now that is something that's a recipe for disaster, and the reason is, as you copy, what happens is Lightroom will try to take pieces from the same locations and fix them, and you will end up with all sorts of errors. If you go back and zoom in, what you're going to see is that none of the photos look good. There's going to be a lot of errors. It's not going to blend well, and to fix that you're going to have to spend much more time. So the thing to do is for each of these photo, go back and individually fix whatever spots you see. Alright, so it copied and pasted. Not that I wanted it to do that, but let me undo. Alright. Okay, so with this photo, let's try and go to Photoshop and fix the spots over there. So to do that, you go to right click, you go to edit in, and then you go to Photoshop CC or Photoshop 6 if we have. We're working with JPG, so we have the option you know, to work on the original JPEG. So let's do that. It'll come up in Photoshop, and let's unlock that layer. So here this is where you come to. You come to the spot healing brush tool, and you have three options here, three options to use. So let's go with the first one, the spot healing. What spot healing does is that you draw on one area and the spot just vanishes. Let's zoom in just a little bit. Zoom in so that you can see it in action. So you draw and it goes away. You draw and it goes away. So that's how the spot healing brush works. So you just kind of, there you go, just kind of paint over these areas. And of course, if you were in Lightroom, you could just simply press on it and it would take the, you know, take the spot away, which is, oh sorry, and which is kind of what the other one was doing. Now with the healing brush tool, well, not the other one, this one. With the healing brush tool, what you do is you hold down Alt or Option, you click on a source area, and then you draw. So what happens is it uses that source area as a guide. So I'm hitting, I'm pressing down Alt or Option, I'm clicking on an area, and I'm just drawing, and that's it. So that's going to be used as my guide, sort of. And the third one is the patch tool. And with the patch tool, it's not about just painting over. It's not just that you draw in one place. It's more like you select a region. So I select this region, and just like a patch, I want to fix this. So what you do is you just drag outside. You show it to another region that's, you know, that's okay, and that'll fix it. That's going to be used as the guide. Alright, so let's come here. Let's see if we have, yep, we have another one there. So again, let's select this spot and just drag out, and there you go. So that's how you do it in Photoshop, if you're in Photoshop. Of course, the more time you can spend in Lightroom, and if you don't have to come to Photoshop, that's, you know, that increases your work, that improves your workflow and increases your speed that much. So it's good if you don't have to come. So then, but then again, while we are here, there's another way we can use this, and that's the clone stamping tool, or you can just press on S. And just like the second option here, the healing brush tool, what you do with the clone stamping is you hold down Alt or Option, and you define a region from where you're going to copy, and then you just draw. And as you do this, notice that there's that small plus here, and that's because we're using that location as the source. So let's undo. So it's just draw, and you see it really didn't match well, because what the spot healing does, what the cloning stamp does, is it copies the whole setting. It doesn't do any kind of blending, it doesn't do any kind of adjusting. But if you come and use the healing brush, that's different. You know, it adjusts to the surrounding, not just the source. It doesn't just copy the source, it adjusts to the surrounding. So I think with that we covered most of the obvious spots. Now, how do you in Photoshop identify if there are any spots? Okay, so what I do, and this is part of my workflow, I can't say you know, it just works. There's no right or wrong, but what I do is I pick adjustment layers. Let's just pick the brightness contrast one. and you know, you just push it all the way to the left or all the way to the right, and what happens is a lot of times when you push your photo to these limits, whatever spot that you missed, it'll show up. And let's see, instead of that, let's come on and use a curves layer, and again just bring it down all the way, and if you had a spot here, it'll show up. Okay, I should have kept something, but in any case, when you do this, the entire photo is gonna look horribly bad, and you really don't need to look at it. All you need to do is you just move and change the adjustment layers like the curves or the levels or the brightness. Just take these and move these all the way from extreme to extreme, and you'll see the areas that really don't go well, areas that have have the spots that will be accentuated. So let's remove this, delete this one. Well, this is all we need. And what we're doing right now, this is called double processing between Lightroom and Photoshop, and all we're gonna do is hit Command W to move back. It'll ask you, do you want to save changes, and we're gonna say yes, save, and it'll, yeah, okay, that'll be saved. I should have flattened the image, but let's allow it to save. And now when we go to Lightroom, we should see the new version of it. Or do we? No, we don't. For some reason it didn't come up. Okay, let's go to Photoshop and see what happened. File, open, resend. Oh, it was saved as a PSD. My bad. So that's why I was saying I should have flattened it. So let's come to Layer. Let's flatten this image. And file, save as, instead of Photoshop we want to save it as JPEG, and save. It'll ask if we want to replace. We'll say yes, yeah, I'm okay with the quality, and the saving is done. Close it, open it here. Okay, so when you have something like this, what we can do is synchronize the folder and synchronize and import. And there we have it. Now this whatever changes I did very quickly, I'll show these to you separately. I'll show these to you separately because there'll be a separate episode altogether where we are gonna go through how we process, how we work in Lightroom and import photos to our catalog and maintain the working in the library module basically. But this is the photo we have, and what we are going to do, again, since we are working on a photo, we're going to try and just process it just a little, just play around with it. Of course, bring down the highlights a little bit, not that it'll help a lot. Bring up the shadows, and you see immediately we have more detail, more texture is visible to us. Let's increase the whites and bring down the blacks. There you go. Oh, we don't want that much. Okay. Alright, and let's try, let's play around with the contrast. Okay. And as always, just sharpen a little bit, noise reduction a little bit. I'm really not bothered about the details in this area because I want to show you something different, some slightly new trick. So this is where we are. This is the photo we have. This is kind of what we did before, and of course we can add just a, there we go, just a radial filter like before. so that your eyes are focused here, which is all nice and good, but you know, the sand kind of looks too white. So what can we do? If you like it this way, it's fine. Not that I dislike it, but here's something we can do. So we can come to the hue, saturation, luminance zone, and from luminance you can click on any of these sliders. You can drag these sliders. For example, if you want to click on aqua and bring it down or up, you change just the luminance of that particular color. You can take orange and you can play with that. You'll notice there's some changes being done here, so you can always play around with that, but that's not what I'm talking about, because if you apply this, it's going to change the whole thing. But you can click on this little thing and you can come to a particular region, particular area, and you can bring it up or down. And as we do this, you'll notice that the sand that was completely washed out white, kind of, it becomes just a touch darker. So it's a little more not local, but the colors, I mean the colors that are relevant, or the colors that matter here, are getting their luminance reduced. So there's a little bit of yellow and green that are reduced. So if you apply this, it's much easier to pick that color and fix that color, as opposed to just moving individual sliders, because you have no idea of knowing that you know, moving the yellow and moving the green as well, about half as much of it will give you the look that you want. So that's it. I think this is where we are, and let's compare this to where we started. That's where we started, and that's where we ended. It's a much different photo. It's a much different photo. It's a fantastic photo. We don't even need to fix the horizon, because this horizon looks completely straight. So yeah, that's it. So that's how we can fix the spots in various photos, and a little more beyond that. I know we started off this episode saying that we're going to be fixing the spots, but you know, it's a photo, we started working on it, so why not complete the whole thing? So I hope you liked this episode. I hope you liked the previous episode, and I hope that you're going to continue following this channel. If you like this, hit like, share with your friends, let me know what you liked or disliked about it, and subscribe to the channel for more videos that will come up. Alright, thank you so much. I hope you all have a fantastic time.